Yay, hello, and welcome to this week of Training Tuesday Live. It's Magnet Marketers, and today we're excited to chat with you about the new roles of a social media account manager in 2021, what all goes into what they need to do today, and why maybe it's not always found in just one person. Very hard to do that anyway. But we're just going to break down some of those things that you should consider that are really about all the changes that we've seen happening over the past few years and how it can affect the role of someone managing your social media profiles. So before we dive in, though, just a quick hello from Not Met Before. My name is Jessica Phillips with Now Marketing Group and the Relationship Marketing System. And my personal mission is to help you love more, give more, and be more through the art of authentic relating using relationship marketing. And my awesome co-host, Mike Gingrich. How are you doing, Mike?
Doing well.
Good. We were just talking about all the snow shoveling here in Ohio and Pennsylvania. Hopefully, where all of you are tuning in from, you don't have as much snow, but let us know in the comments. But if you've not met Mike before, he is the president of a web development and software firm, Digital Hill Multimedia. He's a published author 5 times over, triathlete, runner, biker, and leading business blogger at MikeGingrich.com.
Yes, and tired snow shoveler. Right, that is one thing. I've had my fill of snow shoveling. So.
Oh my gosh, it was crazy. Like my kids went outside to build a snowman, of course, which was awesome. Like they're like, oh my God, all this snow, and they're excited to be canceled from school. And I think this time though, now that they're in their teens, like the snowmen got a little bit smaller and they were like, okay, we're good with that now. We'll go in.
Yep.
Call it good.
Yeah. Another quick story then with the snow. So it started for us Sunday, right? So Sunday, and I knew it was coming. So I wanted to get a workout in ahead of time. So I went out on my bike Sunday, and I was aiming for about a 20-mile bike ride, which would have taken me, gotten back right as the flurries were supposed to start, that type of thing. So I was in the zone when I was out there, and so much in the zone that I missed the one turn that I should have taken. And so instead of 20, it was 25. And of course, the snow did start. And so I'm on a road bike. I mean, we're talking tires this wide,
Oh my
and
gosh.
complete rubber. And so my last mile and a half was treacherous. It's like, don't touch the brakes. Just try to cruise in.
Oh my gosh.
So I slid in at the 25-mile mark as the snow is coming down, and I got that final workout in before the snowstorm.
25-mile mark, you guys. Like seriously? And we're not kidding when he says he's a biker. And
yeah, and it was like 26 degrees too, so
crazy.
a little warm, a little cold. So yeah,
A little warm for you, yeah. A little cold. Well, Steven said he's in Florida. However, it's a bit chilly and windy there.
Wow.
What's
Okay, so
chilly and windy mean for
it
you,
dipped down.
Steven?
I mean, this
Yeah.
system was really, it dipped. So
Yeah,
even Florida, wow.
in Florida. Things change. You got to adapt. That's going to be our metaphor for today. You're
That's right.
adapting. you don't want to slam on the brakes because you got to keep going in order to make it through. And that's kind of what it is with what's happening with online social media marketing, and where brands used to be able to show up in the good old days back in the day, where there wasn't as much competition and you've seen more of everyone's things, that people that but now, of course, more and more people are competing for eyeballs and attention and trying to get their content seen. And there's more apps than ever before as well, kind of pooling for our time and attention. Some of them very visual, some of them, like YouTube and video, Instagram, some of them copy related with content, all of it's kind of content, if you will. But it's not just a quick, you can check in, share your favorite inspirational quote or whatever, and get some traffic on your social. And so we hear a lot with clients asking, okay, well, I have this person doing social media in addition to their other role that they're doing. And well, I don't know, or trying and it's not working. That's not
Right.
Yeah. And even the people that have had like a dedicated social media manager, that's their thing. They're trying to do it. And that's the only thing that they're doing for one account, managing social, and still struggling. So it's really about the conversation of not necessarily, is it do you do social or not? Because it definitely is still working, and that's why more and more people are coming here. But it's about what all goes into it and some of the roles and how it's evolved since maybe 5 years ago, 10 years ago when you're getting started, but really rapidly
Yep.
evolving, in my opinion, the past year and a half.
Tremendous evolution. So I like to say that it went wider and it's went deeper. Okay, so you think about these
Mhm.
kind of things there. Oh, was that Julius? You said no snow
Yeah,
in Buffalo. That's crazy because Buffalo is usually the place that gets dumped on. But
I'll send you
super
some,
cold, but
Julia.
not much snow. All right, Julia, thanks for being here. I love the reels. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm doing Julia's reels there. That's how you do it when she does that.
The dance
I
moves.
love those
Yeah.
things. So yeah, so those she
That's
does.
what it
Thumbs
takes.
up,
It takes
Julia.
dance moves too. That's the other skill we should add to this. It
I
takes
mean,
the dance moves. It really
wider, deeper, and dance moves, you know? Yeah,
yes.
so,
That's it.
but, yeah, you think about it, just in a short little glimpse there, 3
Mhm.
years ago, Instagram barely emerging kind of thing, TikTok not on the radar, Clubhouse, what, is that in a tree? Those type of things, all these kinds of pieces there. So it's went wider and then it's went deeper because and then the deeper is some of the skills because just take Instagram for instance. Okay, I mean you used to be able to post a photo to the newsfeed, right?
Yep.
Well, then there was video and then there's IGTV and then there's stories and then there's reels and then there's shopping
And
and
live video like here. And then, by the way, product placement. Shout out to Agora Pulse. So
shout out
then you
Gore
got
Pulse,
community management portion
gonna
because
be
you got to
our
tag them in
sponsor.
the branding that you're mentioning them on the show, um, and what you're doing there. So the engagement part as
There
well,
you
right?
go. Yes. Yeah, so just think of all of that, and then for because that's I often hear, hey, well, we're thinking about hiring for somebody to do the social media.
And then we giggle.
Yeah,
Insert
and I
that
say,
laugh
I
of
say, okay, well, what
we are
part are they
laughing.
going to do?
Mhm.
What part? Because I said we got to break it down here because just expertise in various platforms, but then there's paid, and even within paid you got to divide it because
Mhm.
Facebook's a different animal than Google, or Snapchat ads, those types of things. So
Exactly.
uh, lots of diversity there, and so it really does take a team. Now, it's not saying if have that social media person that I don't think you can be a Swiss Army knife and do it all. I think that they have to say, hey, this person can do these roles, but then we need to take a look at who's an expert in these other areas, and you have to divide these things down because there's just so much involved.
Yeah, and you're right, and people not aren't necessarily gonna go to each channel that you're on, like Steven just said, although maybe Steven, some people will, your community who's like, "Okay, everybody's over here, I was on LinkedIn." So, sometimes they'll go over to the different channels, but you have to know how to use each one effectively, as well as the roles that go into it, like you just said, the paid, the organic side. So I want to break down some of the things to consider, the skill sets that it takes now to be successful in social media marketing. Although it pulls in all these things, we talked about video, we're talking about TikTok. TikTok's creative. You really are doing something fun and creative there. It's the same thing as that's working on TikTok is might not be working on LinkedIn. Probably not, right?
Yes, yes, pretty much
So
almost guaranteed, but yeah, I'm not.
yeah,
Yeah.
almost guaranteed, unless you're like Judy Fox. I think she's the only one that can get away with that because she's just awesome like that. But still, right? It's all about who your community is. So
Yeah.
let's break down some of the roles that really do that it really does take kind of going into thinking about how to be successful. And that way you can say, okay, if we do have this role in house, like how can we take their skill sets that they really are great at and find some supporter, roles that can maybe work with us and help that person to really succeed, or really kind of rethink, okay, do we need to kind of lay this out a little differently, right? Because the very first role that's often forgotten is strategy, right? Strategy, thinking through what is our end goal,
Yep.
who are we trying to target, and what platforms, where do we need to spend our time in order to help get that end result? So thinking about it from all things with marketing, awareness, consideration, people choosing you, and conversion, hopefully of reaching whatever that win is for you. But then knowing, where am I going to spend my time, because there's so many platforms that are out there. There's only so many hours in the day, and there's so many people that we want to reach. What is going to be the best use of our time, and how do we deliver that content strategically? Are we talking about culture, on a certain platform? Because that's what's going to resonate with our audience on Instagram, for example, like what we do with Now Marketing Group. But maybe we need Facebook for things like this, that helpful content that's going to break down things like this. And that's what's going to work there. And maybe we're using Twitter for some of our links to our blog to get traffic, onto our website and helping people through our downloads, right? Like having that strategy in place, because the same content, you can't just create one piece of content and use it all over all the channels and it work. It's not going to work that way. So you need to have first someone that has a strategy, that has that strategic mind, that's almost like an analyst and that understands. So this is where somebody that does get like all the platforms and how they work and how they can be used together.
Yeah, in an overview standpoint, yeah, and not, this person doesn't have to be the drill down person. They need to be able to know, okay, these are how these different platforms fit together. Yeah, I love that. And just want to add that, I mean, the strategy can't be 2 years old and still working. And, because you're going to have to revisit that. So I always like to say, if they want to map that out, I mean, you can kind of do that strategy and kind of try to look ahead, 12 months, but you're probably going to need quarterly check-in reviews, quick reviews to kind of go back in that and say, okay, where's this at? Do we need to make some tweaks in here, based on that first quarter's activity, that type of piece there, what's happening there? And you need somebody kind of watching some of those markers and indicators, again, which is analytics data that's involved there.
And I really look at like the strategist as almost like the general contractor, if you will, of building something,
There you
right?
go.
You're not necessarily the one putting the nails in, right? And doing the labor that's going to make it work. But you're the one that says, you know what, I see the big picture. I'm looking at it and I'm saying, you know what, you are the best foreman for this thing, or you're the best person for this, part of the job, to make sure everything is built sound and that we're going to end up with the product that we want, or the execution that we want at the end of this time period. So they're really that visionary that knows what needs to be done and who are the best people to get it done, and has those check-ins like you said. So that's like the part that I almost think sometimes is missed. Like people just get so busy in the busy, and then they feel like they just have to keep doing more in order to get a result, instead of pausing, stop what you're doing. Well, for what purpose are we doing this?
Yeah.
And really asking that question. And do we know why we're doing it? Or are we just doing it because everybody says to do it, kind of thing. And then you don't end up, you're just on this hamster wheel if you don't have that strategy portion in place. You may be having fun doing it, talking to all your friends, but it doesn't mean that you're actually getting results. And it can be very hard and challenging, because social is social, right? And it does feel good. It gives you that release when you're talking to other people on there. But if you find yourself not getting or checking in on the results, and that's where the person that's footing the bill for it or trying to look at it, they're looking at it and saying, this isn't working. Because at the end of the day, it still has to have some kind of end win, right? Is it reducing our churn? Is it giving us new leads? Is it, what is it doing? And it's not vanity to look at those numbers. It's reality. Like, where are we spending our time really, where are we spending our time wisely to make sure that we are doing things for a purpose that can still feel good and have a good outcome there. So that's my strategy rant part, but that's often missed. I really feel like that's the big part that's missed.
It's okay.
But then
So we got the strategist, the general contractor. I like that analogy. So then who else, key roles we need to have in the team?
Yeah. So the person that's coming up with the content. So that's the person that's like writing the content. And some people are really good at designing, right? And they're really good at creating some of the visual stuff, but it doesn't always mean that they can write for social. Like social very much so is conversational, like we were just saying, and it's meant for engagement, right? So they may be a great copywriter, or they may be great at writing like, AP type articles, but doesn't mean they're writing for social. So you need to have somebody that can really write in a conversational tone as if somebody's sitting across from you and they feel like it's engaging. And that, honest to God, is a very hard skill set to find. And people that really don't think, when they go to social media marketing, that they don't think marketing, they think social first. So it's kind of hard, to have that. That's why the strategist needs to kind of work with the content person, because they need to really stay in their lane and just make sure that whatever we're delivering doesn't feel like marketing. I love the saying, I don't remember who quoted it, but the best marketing doesn't feel like marketing. So you
Yep.
don't want it to feel like that. You do want it to feel social and engaging. So it does take the right person to be a master of content and copy that can write in that way.
Yes, yes. And writing, there's also scripting,
Mhm.
so when you're thinking about videos and things like that, and that can be sometimes different from that content writer as well, because that's storyline. Yeah. All right. What's Stephen got to say here? I spend much of my time
I spend much of my
on
time
LinkedIn.
over there.
Okay, trying to build relationships with potential clients or decision makers. Hey, we're all about building relationships.
Yeah. And you should. That's also what you're doing. So as long as that's part of your strategy, definitely it's good to build relationships there. That's what we're all about. And it's really, like you said, you knew who those people are, though. You said potential clients or decision makers. So definitely that is a strategy that goes into it. It's just making sure that you're checking in to see, is it resonating, right? Is it working? And am I also spending time, though, engaging with the people I've already won over, right? Because that's really key to relationships, is having, which leads in perfectly to our next role, is community manager. Somebody that is going to make sure that they are there for your community, and your community being your team members that potentially aren't social, for your current clients that you have, and your community of people that you want to build rapport with. Like, I'm not getting paid to show a girl pulse on here, but I love them to death. And I just thought it was cute that both of us had their swag with us today, not planned. But those kinds of people, we get them, we love them, we think they do a great job at relationship marketing, they're aligned with our ideals. So of course we want somebody that is able to engage and support them on social, share their content that could be valuable to our audience, right? And then have those relationships that are taken to the next level within whatever you're engaging with. So think of that as the person engaging. They're actually the one responding to comments when you're doing a live video, right? They're ones that are reminding people like, hey, do you want the replay of the show? Type a recap in the comments here and you can get, the blog post to this. Like, that's that community manager role. They're your hype squad, if you will. And the people that are kind of, as Mike said, going deeper within the relationship early on, that's that person. So it really does have to be a person that understands who you are at your core of the culture, because they are the heartbeat of spreading your vibe, of what you're there to do, and making sure that they're creating these experiences online and going deeper in on those experiences so people remember you and want to keep coming back and engaging with your content, versus just clicking on it once and not going forward from there.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And then there's roles that don't fit like a particular platform, right?
Mhm.
So one of the emerging ones that we've seen here is the chatbot, to be able
Mhm.
um, to create that sequence which is helpful and provide someone 24/7, 365 with
Mhm.
some immediate information. um, and so, but again, so that's not necessarily me, because that could be on your website. I mean, that could be in a Facebook sequence. It could be some kind of
Mhm.
combination of those pieces there, but it's not necessarily a skill in a specific social media platform. It's another uh, niche skill.
It takes somebody that understands technology. So we talked about this a lot on here, with just the growth of dark social. Just like what you said, Mike, like conversations from like that you're starting in your community, right? With that community manager. and even people that are coming to visit you for the first time and they have questions. They're happening in the inbox. So dark social is where people are taking their conversations and building it inside a private space, hence the name dark. So messenger, right? Like you see that a lot on Facebook. Those email, text messaging, those communities of dark social is the number one activity as it relates to social media today, is people having these conversations in private communities. It said 80% of our traffic onto our website right now is dark, meaning we don't know where it's coming from because it's initiated in these inbox conversations. So if we want to be part of that conversation or get invited to it or start it off, we need somebody that truly understands how to do the messenger marketing with things like building a chatbot or having some engaging sequences within your social channels. Like we built one here for magnet marketers. It was a real scenario. If you want a recap of what we're talking about here with all the roles laid out, you can type recap in the comments here and be invited to get that. So the same kind of thing is true, right, with what we're talking about. And then it'll have this creative sequence that you can do in order to then get notified of the show, the next one that's coming up. So you don't even have to, be here or watch for the alert. You're getting notified of it in your inbox. It is helping with, keeping those conversations going. And then, as you just mentioned, Mike, of having that then within your website too. So we're not asking people to come to us and do something. We're meeting them where they're at and continuing that relationship building throughout. So that the same type of experience that they may be used to and getting information quickly, making a purchase, those kinds of things that now are happening anywhere we want. Right? If we want to buy something and we're on Facebook, we don't want to leave to go to your website to buy it. We want to buy it on Facebook. If we're on Instagram, we don't want to have to open a tab, then go find our card and then lost our window because our mom called in or whatever, and now we forgot about the purchase. We want to make it right there on Instagram. If we're on Pinterest and find it, we want to make it there. People want speed, ease of use, and accessibility. So we need to make sure that these things connect together. So that's happening with chatbots, to remind people that they've left something in the cart or helping them make that process faster, smarter, or incorporating your web team. Web experience manager is what I'm calling this. So it's kind of a dual role, right? It could be they're all doing your chat messenger marketing or helping to integrate those experiences together with a web experience, right? So taking the chat part of it, taking your web portion part of it, and seeing how can we integrate that together. And that takes someone that knows a little bit of potentially coding or at least can understand that logic. And that doesn't always come in the same person that's writing the content, for example.
There you go. And then, there's the other roles that have evolved, and that's just the complexity within the ad space, right? And so, you've got these different roles, and now you've got these other people. You've got a community manager, and you've got some content. You've got all these pieces there. But you're ready to do some paid advertising. Well, that's a entity unto itself, right? And so, you should not expect just someone that you hire to, quote, take care of social media to know the ins and outs to be able to do that. You guys now as Tony does ads, and
that's what Tony does. That's all
his
Tony
skill
can
set.
do right now.
His drill deep down.
Yeah.
And it's necessary because of the complexity and the breadth of a Facebook ad platform, which encompasses Instagram as well, and the many other places where you can advertise and all those type of things, and being aware of the iOS 14 changes, all those types of pieces.
Exactly. You just hit the nail on the head, being aware of it, because if you're trying to be everywhere, it's kind of like the saying of, if you're trying to be everything to everyone, you're not, it's not going to work, right? And the same thing is true with trying to be everywhere and do all the things when it relates to your online marketing and social media. Tony literally he's a master of what he does. I'm a little biased, of course, because he's on our team and he's just freaking awesome. But it doesn't mean that he can't stop, or he's learned everything there is to learn. Like, it changes on him in an instant. He wakes up in the morning. It's not like he gets a debrief by Facebook 30 days ahead of time. Like, you know what? We think we're going to have this stuff happening with Apple. So just a heads up, you can take your time, learn about it at your leisure. No, it's like you wake up this morning and, oh crap, this has changed. And now everything that I need to do and everything that I've been doing within my strategy is now flipped, right? Same thing's true with anything that just happened in 2020 with maybe the person that's writing the content for social, right? And now you realize you have to change everything because overnight there's a pandemic crazy, or there were, riots and things that were going on. Like, you need to make sure it's all kind of in touch with what's
With
happening
the
today.
moment. Yeah.
You have to know how to be aware of that in the best way of responding, right? And then doing the work to respond. So you can't do that if you're trying to do all these things. There's no way
Yes.
to do it well anyway.
No.
We'll do it, but it's juggling.
Yep. Yep.
And you're a unicorn if you can do it all. So my team knows I cannot design to save my life. I can tell you when things look good, but that is like a skill I just don't have. It's not in me. I can see it. I think it, I can tell when things look beautiful, but designing, I mean, Lord help me. And thank God for even for Canva, but even there I struggle. So, I know that I need some good people in my corner that can do those things because they're smarter than me at that area. Right. And we all have our zones of genius. Like, I know it was mentioned on here of Julia being an amazing community manager. And she is, like, she was made for that. Right. Like, there are people who are just intrinsically kind of gifted in areas that you have to find what that gift is and let them shine at it, because then they're going to be happy doing it. It's going to come natural to them. They're going to get excited and passionate about wanting to stay in the know. Like, Tony literally like keeps us all up to date on what's changing with ads because it's interesting to him, right? And if somebody's just doing that because they know they have to, but it's not really kind of their thing and they're not excited about it, it's not going to feel that way, and they're going to be met with some of the resistance, and it's just going to stagnate, your marketing efforts, and you don't want that. So these are some of the things just to start thinking about of, okay, if this is where we're struggling, is it because of the person? Probably not. It's probably just that challenge is just not in their wheelhouse right now, or they're, just too much, right? It's like trying to say, even doctors have specific areas of practice for a reason. It's just too much to cover, right? With just everyone kind of being a generalist and so much. You can be the general physician, but you need to send people off when they're specialists or specialties and things to kind of, attach that to get everything to kind of work the best level. So
yeah. I like that analogy as well. You're full of good analogies today, because that one connects right there as well. Just because it is. I mean, you maybe that's going to be your first stop is your GP and general practitioner. You kind of check that out, but they're saying no. This one I want to get a little deeper. I want to send you over here so that they can do what they do best with that piece. And social has just evolved to that. It's matured. It's grown. You can't say the word Facebook and what is that now? It's so multifaceted. I mean, we're talking page, we talking groups, we talking ads, we talking live, so much.
yeah, you're not kidding. There's so much that goes into it. Hey, Malik, good to see you on here. I love it. George says, Superman wears Tony does ads pajamas. And Julia, girl, I know. I'm not saying anything about yours because I just know mine are brutal as well. But yeah, luckily we have some geniuses on the team that does help us look good. Like John, make sure our videos rock, because that also is another skill that just takes somebody that really gets it and can do the lighting and can do the things to make it look great, and to make sure the technology works and that your sound is good and that your lighting is good. Like, John's probably cringing if he's looking at my light in my basement right now. I'm trying.
Look at that. Superman had his super sensitive ears on. He heard, and his ears were ringing. So Superman in the house there. We got Tony came in.
I knew it. That's great. Yeah, but yeah, so you need to just tying those things together, having that skill set, and then making sure that what you need to have done, going back to the strategy, it's not saying that, maybe you hire all these roles or whatever, but really just going back to the strategy piece. We're into the new year already. It's February though. Already. But looking at what is my goals for this year and how can I get serious about it? And then how can I look at these roles and see where do I need to bring in some support, or how do I hire someone that can help me find the right team members? And then it's a question of insourcing. Do you keep it in house or do you outsource? And working with like an agency that does all the things for you with somebody that is on your team, or do you build your own in-house team? What does that look like for you, and what kinds of things can you really do well to make sure that you have that success at the end of the year, and
Yeah.
just knowing the limitations there. So
But I think I'll emphasize what you said and come back to that again. Kind of evaluating the strategy, and because you take a look at your strategy and your audience, for instance, is on Instagram, right? Okay, so if that was important to you previously, it still is. Okay, but still, now maybe you need to go a little wider and deeper within that, just within Instagram, so maybe stories or reels. Maybe deeper does mean taking a look at the shopping features or ads within Instagram. So that's kind of an example there where somebody's saying, again, always come back to where's our where's that our buyer spending time, who is that,
mhm.
what's that persona, and where are they at, and then what connects with them, and what are the means to do that today. And so I just want to emphasize to people that wider and deeper might just be like that example within Instagram, expanding what you do there, going deeper within what you do there.
Exactly. And Debbie, I'm going to answer your
Okay.
question. I am not, well, I kind of am talking to you, but I wasn't planning on this, you talking to you about this, because you just reached out to me this morning and we already have this planned and scheduled. But long before this, a couple weeks ago, we talked about it, but because this is something that comes up a lot. Okay, this is something that comes up a lot. They're like, I'm struggling with this. Why? Because I've done this part of it. Well, it's not just that part. It really does take these things all coming into play together. So I'll give you a perfect example. And it happened to us today. We got our first lead, a direct sales lead from Facebook for the year so far, right? Like from the year of what we were putting out. And it was because we were having a conversation as a team of going back to not staying in our comfort zone of posting, some of this, feel good kind of stuff, but making sure that going back to our strategy of saying, what's our content mix? And then making sure that we're having it linked back to the website, them filling out a form, right? Where they can fill out a form and knowing what our audience is interested in. So our audience is interested in knowing when social media changes are happening, right? They're interested in the culture stuff. Of course, that's our, core audience of clients today, like building culture and building that rapport with us. But the new audience and people that potentially don't know who we are, they want to hire somebody that knows what they're doing. So they're looking at pages when they see that, oh, you're the only one talking about this right now. Somebody else is talking about news from years ago, and you're telling me all these changes ahead of time, and then you're showing me how to do it and making sense of it for me. Okay, now I'm starting to want to trust you. And that's exactly
Yeah.
what happened, right? They click on that content, it's written beautifully, attaches to the website where then they can have that experience there. And I can see all the while in the back end exactly everything that they touched in order to get from A to Z. And it wasn't one person, it wasn't just the content. It was the strategy. It was the person touching the content. It's the design. It's the website portion. It took every single person doing their expertise in order to make that happen, right? And the same thing's true with some other things. So it goes both ways, and you can see where things might be falling flat. It's just paying attention and seeing, okay, where is that miss? And then making sure that you're truly using
Yeah.
all of the Avengers, as we call them at Now Marketing Group, their Avenger Squad, making sure that we're using everyone because it's just stronger together. And you can have a faster result than just one person kind of doing it alone if we kind of put everyone together doing that. So, and Mike Alton says, nice hoodie. Mike, you should see it. We did a full promo for you earlier. We did, because I had the mug and everything.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But Malik says, what are the benefits of targeting social media platforms? Benefits of targeting social media platforms? So you mean like specifically having a specific kind of purpose? Is that what you're meaning for each social media platform? Maybe Mike, since you hit on that. Is that what how you're reading it?
Yeah. So the way I read that, benefits of targeting social media platforms. I mean, I think uh, so again, you want to go where your persona, that buyer, that interested decision maker, is. And so if they are on LinkedIn, you want to target that social media platform as a place where you're spending time. And then again, I'm saying, within LinkedIn, there's multiple avenues now for how you come and and represent your brand on LinkedIn. There's the personal profiles, there's the company profile, there's stories, there's live video, there's different pieces like that. So
Yeah.
um, so that's so knowing where your audience, where that specific audience spends time is going to help you drive to target
And how they
particular
wanna
platforms.
see the content there. So I'll give you an example. So we have a blog on, the changes in SEO that are coming. So the Google page experience, right?
Yeah,
That's coming, it's out, it's rolling out right now. And we're talking about that. And we've talked about it here on Facebook as a live show. Then we recapped it as a blog on our website. But because we want to share it in another way, now we're making social posts about it where it's an Instagram reel or an Instagram story. So it's delivered in another way, somebody that's presenting it that way, right? And then we're making a LinkedIn post about it. So it could also be how you're showing up. So if you know your audience, maybe you're one that has your audience that is kind of on each of these networks, which can be great. But the last thing you want is just to put that blog post every which where, right? Like links in Instagram aren't going to work, right? So you need to see, how am I not only targeting and knowing where our audience is, but how are they wanting to receive the content where they're
yeah,
at, right? And then how it makes sense of it that way. So you can kind of look at it both ways. But also, it's okay to say no to some platforms. If your bandwidth is here and you know you don't have any more bandwidth, then stick within what you can put in here to do
right.
really, really well. It's
Well,
okay
yep,
to not be on some of the other channels. I know it's hard and FOMO is real, but if you don't have time to do it well, don't do it. It's better to not do something half done. I almost said something else, but do something. You want to do it well because everything you're doing says a lot about who you are. If there's comments left unanswered because you haven't been able to spend time on that platform, then it's really going to come off and have a negative effect, the opposite of what you're doing social for in the first place, right? So make sure that you also kind of look at that bandwidth. So having that strategist there at the beginning, like we were talking about, to give you that purpose, and also having at the end of this, so the last role, and sometimes this is a strategist and sometimes it's not. I'm finding actually that it needs another person, at least in our instance, that's an analyst, that's somebody that can really understand the data, right? That they can see, okay, here was our plan, and here's the reports of that plan. So they can look and see, okay, here's where the traffic came from, and here's how many led to conversions. Our churn has now, we've reduced client churn by this much because of this. Like, here's where our audience is typically starting. Here's the questions they're finding us for, because search engine optimization, right? That's now part of social too. Like Instagram descriptions are also being searched now, like they're part of search results. So that analyst is going to help us know proven data that's saying what we're doing is working or what
yeah.
we need to make pivots on. And they kind of work hand in hand with that strategist if it's not the same person and everyone else, but their numbers don't lie. So it's that person that's really going to help show you what's working and what's not.
Numbers don't lie. Yep. And Nicole
I
said it.
love you,
There it
Nicole.
is.
I love you. Oh, you're my favorite. Oh my God. I love it. Yes, you mean less is more. Yeah, exactly.
Damien,
Exactly.
my man.
Damian Ross. Yes. Yes. I think also there was I don't know if this is public or not, but Mike, I don't know if you were there at Social Media Marketing World where Andrew and Pete, they did a talk on that. I'm trying to remember the name of their talk. Is done better than perfect or something like that. And they were really breaking down how just getting it done is not, is not okay too. And I really love their approach to, yes, you do want to not overthink things and get it. You do want to publish it. I'm not saying make things perfect and, let that hold you up, because I also am not a believer in that. But what they were saying about it is that it's better to do something with more of your full focus, that you really care about what you want to go in on. So 80-20 rule of, okay, if I know, like I think it was, who was on here that said LinkedIn, where they were getting their audience or their clients from LinkedIn, and they're spending Steven. So like, Steven, if that's where your community is and you want to spend 80% of your time on LinkedIn because that's what's working for you, then by all means, right? Like, do it. If your bandwidth is here and this is all you can do is what you're doing, and LinkedIn is that thing that's working for you, then go 80% and focus there and make it awesome, right? And then the 20% of the time you can use to test out on some other channels and to make sure you show up there. So that analysis is going to help that, and also going to help you work in your strategy a lot more.
Jimmity doom, right? This is good stuff, and hopefully we've left the audience with some things to think about. Hopefully some they've experienced some freedom because you've just released them for needing to do everything, and and to understand their bandwidth, but also some of the complexity.
Yeah, you need an army. Well, like, I'm not trying to overwhelm, but I'm really trying to say, here's the rules it takes. And maybe some of this does come in the same person. It's just not often that you find it. It's a unicorn.
Yeah.
And you might find two skill sets that come, but not often. So you just really need to look at gaps, and it's okay. Like, now, if you're moving these things online, to maybe pay and get some help from somebody else that's really good at it, or hire someone potentially. But more and more business is being done online. 80% of all buying decisions start online. So you just want to make sure, if you're building this as your digital storefront, make sure you would take care of it as if you would if it was your physical storefront, right? You want to make sure everything looks good, it's operational, it's there, you have people greeting people. You wouldn't want people just coming into your store and nobody there to help service them, or you don't have your sign on or whatever, right? Like, just make sure that your digital storefront is going to operate that way too, and that's where people are going. So yeah, it does kind of take an army at times, but it's just the truth, and sometimes truth is hard to hear.
Look at the gaps. I like that, though. Look at the gaps. Yep.
Yeah. But all right. Well, thank you all so much. Hopefully this was helpful. We will have that recap where it does break down some of the rules. So it helps you to really consider, maybe, where do we invest this time? What makes sense for us, and some additional resources to help you do just that. Ask the questions when you're maybe looking for an account manager or looking for people to hire. We have some questions there that we'll link into that blog as well. That'll really help make sure you find the right person for the job too. So other than that, thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. This went by super fast, but good discussion. I love this kind of thing. So hopefully it was of value to all of you, and hopefully you'll join us back next Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Magnet Marketers. Until then, hope you all have an amazing week.
Thanks, folks. Take care.